5 mistakes men make that destroy their divorce settlement. Going through a divorce is one of the most financially consequential events of your life. The decisions you make over the next few weeks or months will affect your finances, your living situation, and your relationship with your children for years to come. And yet, most men walk into the settlement process completely unprepared and uninformed, and they pay for it. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 5 most common mistakes men make that destroy their divorce settlement, and more importantly, exactly what you can do instead. Now, I want to be clear about what I mean when I say these mistakes destroy a settlement. I'm not just talking about losing money, although that absolutely happens. I'm talking about men who agree to terms they didn't have to agree to. They give up rights they didn't know they had and end up locked into arrangements that affect their lives for a decade or more, all because they didn't understand the process before they sat down to negotiate. Since 2005, I've worked with thousands of men going through a divorce. And I see the same mistakes come up over and over again, regardless of income level, regardless of how long the marriage lasted, regardless of whether the divorce started out friendly or contentious. These are not random errors. They are predictable. And because they're predictable, they're also preventable. I've never seen so many men go through something so important armed with so little knowledge about how the process really works. Now let's go through them one by one. Mistake number 1 is the most expensive mistake men make, and it's also the most common. It's letting emotion drive your decisions through the settlement process. Now, as a guy who went through a divorce myself, I understand the emotional weight of what you're going through. Believe me. Divorce is painful. It often involves betrayal, anger, grief, fear, and sometimes all of those things at once. Those feelings are real and they're valid. But every time you let those feelings dictate a legal or a financial decision, you're handing money to the other side. Here's what it looks like in practice. A man is so desperate to get out of the marriage and end the conflict that he agrees to the first settlement offer he receives without understanding what he's really giving up. He signs away equity in the home that he helped pay for, he agrees to an alimony figure that isn't legally required, and he waives rights to retirement assets because he just wants it to be over. Here's what I tell every one of my clients. Treat divorce like a business transaction. That doesn't mean you stop caring about your children or your future. It means you make decisions based on facts and legal standards, not on how angry or exhausted you are in the moment. That single shift will save you more money than anything else I can tell you. Mistake number 2 is the one that I see constantly. And it puts men at an enormous disadvantage from the very first conversation. It's going into negotiations without understanding what a court would actually award. Think about what this means in practice. If your spouse's attorney makes you an offer and you don't know whether that offer is fair, reasonable, or significantly below what you're entitled to, how would you respond? Most men either accept it because they're scared of court or they reject it because something feels wrong, without being able to articulate why. Neither approach serves you. Let me give you the baseline you need to walk in any negotiation with confidence. On property division, most states follow equitable distribution. That generally means marital assets, which is everything acquired during the marriage, are split roughly equally. The family home, retirement accounts, investment accounts, vehicles, these aren't his or hers. They're marital assets and you're entitled to your share. The same is true for marital debts. You need to calculate your net worth and then divide it 50-50. Now, 50% is either a ceiling or a floor, depending upon your perspective. Now, on alimony, the courts consider the income difference between spouses, the length of the marriage, the standard of living during the marriage, and each party's ability to be self-supporting. Alimony is not automatic. Short marriages with both spouses working often result in little or no alimony. Many men pay far more than they legally have to because they didn't know they could push back. Now, on child support, in virtually every state, child support is calculated by a formula, just like sales tax. The income of both parents plus the custody time split equals a number. You plug your data into the child support calculator and it spits out a number. That number is generally not negotiable. But custody time is. Which brings us to the next mistake. Mistake number 3 is the one that breaks my heart every time I see it. Because it affects not just a man's finances, but his relationship with his children. And that's agreeing to less custody time than you want or less time than the children deserve. Simply to avoid a fight. I tell my clients, it's not you that deserves time with your children, it's your children that deserve time with you. Never forget that. Many men go into custody negotiations with a defeatist mindset. They've heard that courts favor mothers. They assume they're going to lose anyway, so they back down early. Some do it because they want to seem cooperative. Some do it because they generally just want to see peace. Here's what you need to understand. In addition to denying your children access to their father, every hour of parenting time you give away has a dollar value. Child support formulas in most states factor in the percentage of overnights each parent has. The more time you spend with your children, the lower your child support obligation. In practical terms, moving from a 20-80 custody split to a 50-50 split can reduce your monthly child support payment by hundreds of dollars or more, depending upon your income. In some states, a 50-50 custody split will totally eliminate your child support obligation. Beyond the financial impact, courts today do not automatically favor mothers if the children are 10 years or older. Family court has shifted significantly in the last 20 years. Equal parenting time is not just possible, it's increasingly the default in many jurisdictions when both parents are involved and capable. If you want time with your children, ask for it. Document your involvement and don't walk away from the table until the arrangement reflects what's actually in the best interest of your children, which includes having their father in their lives. And always remember, it's not you that deserves time with your children, it's your children that deserve time with you. Now, if this information is helpful, please take a second to subscribe. I put out practical, no-nonsense divorce strategies every week, specifically for men who want to protect their rights and keep more of their money. Now, let's keep going. Mistake number 4 is the one that some men make out of desperation and others make without fully understanding the consequences. It's moving or hiding assets once the divorce process begins. I'm going to be direct with you here. Don't do this. I'm not just saying it because it's wrong, although it is. I'm saying it because it will destroy your credibility in negotiations. And if it ever gets in front of a judge, it will destroy your case. Now, here's what this looks like in the real world. A man empties a joint bank account and moves the money into a personal account. A man maxes out a credit card on personal expenses right before filing. A man sells a vehicle to a family member for well below market value just to keep it out of the marital estate. A man fails to disclose a retirement account during the financial disclosure phase. Every one of these moves is traceable. Courts require full financial disclosure from both parties. Bank statements, credit card statements, retirement account statements, tax returns. It all comes out. When a judge sees evidence that one party attempted to conceal or move assets, that party loses credibility on every issue in the case. Judges have the authority to sanction that behavior, and many of them do, by awarding a larger share of the marital estate to the other party as a penalty. Now, here's what you can do legally. Understand what qualifies as a joint marital asset versus a separate asset. Money or assets that you brought into the marriage, inheritances you received in your name alone, and certain gifts may qualify as separate property in many states. That distinction matters, and it's worth understanding before you sit down at the negotiation table. Document everything you're entitled to claim as separate property and present it clearly in negotiations. Now, mistake number 5 is one that often comes at the very end of the process when men are exhausted and relieved that an agreement has been reached and they're just ready for it to be over. And that is agreeing to terms verbally without getting
I think we have a deal.
Complete, detailed, written
Shake on it, then.
Settlement agreement. Verbal agreements in divorce proceedings are essentially worthless. They're unenforceable. And the moment circumstances change, a new relationship, a job loss, a move, verbal understandings fall apart, and you have no legal basis to hold anybody accountable. Here's what that mistake looks like in practice. 2 spouses reach a verbal agreement that they'll split their retirement accounts equally when the time comes. Years pass, one spouse remarries. The retirement account has grown significantly. Now there's a dispute, and without a written agreement with specific terms and a QDRO, a Qualified Domestic Relations Order, to legally divide the account, the man who earned those assets may no longer have legal recourse. Another example is a verbal custody agreement that works fine for a year, and then one parent decides to relocate. Without a written parenting plan that addresses relocation, the whole arrangement has to be renegotiated, often in court, often expensively. Every agreement you reach on property, support, on custody, on retirement accounts needs to be a written settlement agreement that is reviewed, signed, and filed with the court. The more specific, the better. Vague language creates ambiguity, and ambiguity creates conflict. If you're going to go through the work of negotiating a fair settlement, protect that work by making sure it's documented correctly. Now, let's quickly recap the 5 mistakes that destroy divorce settlements. 1. Letting emotion drive your decisions instead of facts and legal standards. 2. Walking into negotiations without understanding what a court would actually do. 3. Giving up custody time to avoid conflict, when that time has both personal and financial value. 4. Moving or hiding assets, which destroys your credibility and can cost you more than the assets were worth. And 5. Agreeing to terms verbally without a complete written agreement. None of these mistakes are inevitable. Every one of them is preventable. The men who come out of divorce in the best shape financially and emotionally are the ones who went in prepared, who understood the process, knew their rights, and made decisions based on information instead of fear. Now, if you want help negotiating your specific situation, understanding where you stand on the issues that matter most in your case, you can find more information in the link in the description below. The earlier you are in the process, the more options you have and the more money you're likely to save. Now, if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more practical divorce strategies every week. If you have questions or personal experiences you'd like to share, please leave them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.